Everyone doing today? That's why we need you in the audience. All right, it's just a couple minutes after 11:30, so we are going to get started. We have a really exciting topic for you today. But before you get started, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Lauren Shakes, and I'm the Associate Director at the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center. For those of you who aren't familiar with what an SBDC is, or the SBDC for your local region, we're a small business resource. We provide education like this and one-on-one advising with subject matter experts, all free of charge to you. Our belief is that a successful business starts with good education and knowing how to avoid those costly business mistakes from the very beginning. We are a resource for the life cycle of your business, so if you're starting up, if you aren't even started yet, you're not even generating revenue and you're just thinking about it, this was an idea written on a notepad at 2 a.m., or if you've been in business for decades. We have resources to help you meet your financial and business goals, whether that is growing or if any of you are at the stage where you're ready to sunset your business, sell it, whatever that looks like, turn the chapter, start something new. We have resources for you and an advising team. We're a staff, very similar to the chamber. We only have 3.5 staff members, but we have an advising team that volunteers their time of 35 different people, all different subject matter experts, from CPAs to attorneys, social media managers, restaurants, hospitality, medical, anything you need, we likely have it. And if we don't, we are part of a statewide system with 13 other offices across the state that we can pool their resources to help you. So if you'd like to know more about what we do at the SBDC, I'll be in the back of the room, happy to chat with you after, or you can look us up at pikespeaksbdc.org. And you utilize your free advising, whether it's up here or if you find our Colorado Springs location a little bit more convenient to you, we're happy to help you. We serve all of El Paso and Teller County. But I'm not what you guys came here for, I know that. So I will turn it over to Abigail with the Tri-Lakes Chamber to introduce herself. And for those of you who are not chamber members yet, Abigail will give you a quick overview of the chamber, and then we will get started with today's presentation.
Awesome, thanks, Lauren. I'm going to check the camera if it would see my head too. My name is Abigail. Oh, good. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it. I forget that sometimes. So. My name is Abigail, and I am the event planner here on the team. We have 3.5 staff, like Lauren said, and the Tri-Lakes Chamber represents territorially, kind of. We say we're from northern El Paso County down to Interquest, Black Forest to the Air Force Academy, but we have 540 something members, and they are from all over. We have from Denver down to Fountain to the Eastern Plains, people who live here in the Tri-Lakes area, who want to be part of the community, people who have businesses that want to provide service and connect with the rooftops and people here. But we love serving businesses, so we get to be a springboard for connections to the town, anywhere from going to bat with you for the electricity and the permitting and all that process of getting your building open, which we've been doing, to town council meetings, to legislation, to helping you find a team, because many of you I know in the room, like, you started your business and it can be really lonely. So we found that a lot of people have found fellow business people to cheer them on in all the stages of their business through the things that we do. So we do a ton of events, that's just part of it, but we love providing educational resources. So we're thankful to the SBDC for helping make that possible. So today is just a snippet of that. We have these once a month. There is an event calendar in front of you, so if you want to see some other things, feel free to check it out. A lot of our things you can participate in at no cost or come the first time for free. So anyway, check it out. But again, you're not here for me, so I will tell you there are restrooms in the back if you need to use them. I have some water out. And we're thrilled to help you today, hopefully in this conversation, talk about how do we get our vision and our passion to the people that we want through making meaningful connections, business connections that work. And so anyway, so thank you for being here. If you want to talk about the Tri-Lakes Chamber, please feel free to talk to me or my team afterwards. A lot of you are members in the room, and I've seen your business go from vision to creation, so it's super fun. But thanks for being here, and we hope that this is beneficial to you as you get the word out there and make the meaningful connections so that people can experience your business and our community can flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. So just I'm going to level set, make sure we're all in the right place. We all know that we're going to talk about business networking, right? Is that like the super exciting topic? Ooh, if you're like me, networking comes with a little bit of anxiety. Is there a right way or a wrong way to do it? I don't know. Sometimes we think we make these meaningful connections and then they forget to follow up with you, you forget to follow up with them. You lose. If you're like me, those business cards have gone through the wash more than a handful of times, and then you lose them. And there's a lot of ways we spend a lot of our time, especially as chamber members, as businesses who are starting and growing, we spend a lot of our time cultivating new business, right? You're always trying to find your next client, your next customer, or partners to help you do your work better. And a lot of times it happens through networking or networking events. There's no one really teaches you how to do that. We all got here, we all started our business without really knowing what we were doing. So sometimes if you're like me, you go into the room blind and you're just like, please let someone talk to me so I don't have to start the conversation first. I tend to be a little bit more introverted if you guys couldn't tell. And sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes if you're really there trying to sell your business, that's not always the best way. Sometimes you're not what people are looking for and they're not going to come reach out to you or start the conversations. But we've done similar topics to this in the past, and they've been incredibly successful. You guys have given us great feedback that this is a skill that you guys want to continue finessing and continue working on. How to make the most of your time. I know your time is limited, so how do we go to these business networking events and make them meaningful to you? It is my pleasure to introduce Jeffrey Hawthorn, VP of Sales for Workplace Resources Colorado. We are fortunate to have him in our region. He represents Colorado Springs and Denver, but Colorado Springs is his favorite. And he'll be leading the presentation. It's meant to be interactive, as those of you who know who joined us before. If you have questions, please don't wait till the end. Go ahead and throw up your hand, ask the question while you have Jeffrey in front of you. We will have Jeffrey here until about 1 o'clock, so make sure you get your questions answered throughout this time. And Jeffrey, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so, and I just want to echo what Lauren said there. Like, if you got questions, just go ahead, like, pop up your hand here. Because they told me, like, I had, like, this time block, I don't know, like, 75 to 80 minutes. And I promise you, you don't want to listen to me for 75 to 80 minutes. Okay, so if you got questions, go ahead and throw up your hands or speak out. And I really do, I would prefer like this to be very interactive and engaging, so I might I'll ask questions, right? You have to talk back to me. Because I don't have a problem. I've got 4 kids. I don't have a problem embarrassing anyone. Okay, so, but we're just having some fun today. I'm decently passionate about this idea of networking, more so because of like my own experience with this idea of networking. And so I'll just give you like a brief history of where I've come from, what my role kind of is. In a nutshell, I work for a company. We are Workplace Resources. Lauren said we're a commercial furniture dealer, and so we sell, we design, we install, we help procure all of the services around like furniture office space. And I've been part of this organization for 6.5 years. But my training is actually in operations. Like I grew up in construction. My dad owns a residential construction company, and then I worked for a large global nonprofit right down the road overseeing all of their building operations for about 11 years. So really, Workplace Resources is like the first place that I ever engaged with this idea of sales and having to go out and build business and network and build relationships. Like the operations world is a little bit like, tell me what to do and I'll do it, right? I've got my budgets and I've got my schedules and I've got my people that I got to oversee, but it's like pretty basic compared to like the sales world. In fact, I always said I would never do sales. Anybody else say that? Yeah. That's the problem. Never say never, right? Because odds are it's going to happen. In fact, when my boss called me up years ago when he knew I was looking for something different, he said, I'm calling to try to persuade you to join our sales team. And I said, absolutely not. Like, I'm an operations person, only operations person, not interested. And I think he's actually probably the best salesperson that I know, because he got me to come and join the organization as a salesperson. And quite frankly, now I'm not sure I would do anything different. I just love what I get to do. both in like the tactical part of what Workplace Resource does. Like I love creating environments for people's businesses. But there's this other aspect that I love that we're going to talk more so today about, and it's just the relationship piece. Like, I just absolutely love getting to know other people, getting to hear the stories of other people, getting to engage and understand what makes people tick. In fact, I think that that's really what networking is really all about in the grand scheme of things. And so that's why I don't think I'm an expert necessarily at this. I just have a lot of fun doing it, and I think that maybe that's a little bit of what hopefully we can leave with today is this idea that networking can be fun, and maybe we can just reframe that a little bit. But as a kind of a start off here, let me just like take a little bit of a pulse in the room. Why this topic today? Like you could have been doing anything at this point in time of the day. We all got businesses to run. We all have decisions to make. We all have people to engage with. We all have bills to pay. Fill in the blank, right? So with a couple people, like why did you say, yeah, I got to go and make time for this today? Who would like to share? Yeah.
Any tool in the toolbox is a good thing.
Any tool in the toolbox is a good thing. I like that. Coming from construction, I actually really appreciate that. That's great. Yeah.
Dan and I were just talking, and I said, I look at it this way. I've been networking for a lot of years, and I've even run my own networking groups, and but if you can pick up one or two new things with everything, maybe even more, you learn, then you're better off. So
yeah, it's great. Love that. Thank you for sharing. About one or two more. Yeah.
Let's say half the battle for your business is getting sales, getting leads, getting all that stuff. So if you don't know it, you're basically setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's the challenge, right? Absolutely. Yes.
So many people, relationships are CRM, and they use a program and they devise whatever their CRM process is around the program.
Sure.
And the programs are designed to service everyone, but they do a good job with no one.
Yes.
So I'm hoping to come hear about how to develop this relationship process.
Okay.
And
yeah, that's great. All right, I love that. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to talk today this idea, and I titled this thing like relationships matter. I really do believe that at my core, and so we'll talk a little bit today. Like my hope. I don't have any special tricks or scripts. I'm just going to come straight out there with that. Like there's nothing special that I do, and there's no like thing I can just like give you like, hey, $9.99 and this will fix all your problems. Like that's not what I have for you today. We're going to talk about this idea of becoming someone people are glad they met, and then also this idea of like authentic, human, effective networking. So just a little bit of some a story of my experience and how I kind of started into this. Started in sales. I started a sales position December 19th of 2020, 2019, which was actually a terrible time to get into a sales role because we all know what happened the March after in 2020, right? It was COVID happens, right? Everything shuts down, and now I'm like, I got to figure out how to build business in a world where nobody wants to engage and nobody wants this idea of relationships to actually happen, right? I mean, it's just a scary, time in the marketplace. And so I went through probably it was pretty much close to about a year or so of like really spinning wheels trying to figure this out. Again, just a terrible time to try to figure out how to do networking and sales. And then I was also like, personality-wise, like I'm a pretty like type A personality. Help me understand what the process is. Help me on like steps A, B, and C, and I will follow it to a T. I'm an efficiency expert. I consider myself somewhat of an efficiency expert. So I'm always trying to figure out like what's the best way, what's the most efficient way, what's the most effective way to do the thing, whatever the thing is. And I quickly realized that like there is not a thing, an effectiveness or efficiency matrix that will help you do networking like the best way possible. Like I don't know if you're like me, like I'm always looking for the silver bullet, and there is not a silver bullet when it came to networking. And when I started in the sales role, I had been a part of Colorado Springs for 13 years at the time already. And I thought, like, when I came into the sales world and my boss is telling me, like, this is what you do. You go out and you build relationships and, like, you know the market, right? And so this will be easy for you. And I thought, yeah, it'll be easy. I've been here 13 years. I know this market. And then it wasn't long after I started trying to engage with the market, trying to do this whole networking, that I quickly realized I don't actually know this place that I've lived for 13 years. And I really had to reshape, like, in my mind what this idea of networking is, which is really just about going out, I think, with this idea of curiosity and developing relationships. I do have a question for you, because I do think that when it comes to networking, there is like an emotional aspect to it. If we just were honest about that, there is something that kind of happens within our inner psyche and our inner being that when we hear the word networking, for some of us, it's like, can't wait. And then probably for most of us, if you're like me, you're like, oh my goodness, I gotta go do this thing, and it's a part of my job, and I'd rather do, like, there's about 10 or 15 other things I'd rather do, but I have to go do this thing because it is a part of building business. It's a part of making connections, understanding where the work is, and all that. So I have this question for you, and I'm wondering if anybody would just be willing, again, just to share and speak out. What do you instantly start to feel inside yourself when you hear the word networking? Or what thoughts immediately pop into your head when you see a networking event that you could or maybe should attend, right? Like, you're on the chamber website, you're looking at the event calendar, and you're like, oh man, there's one coming up like next Thursday. Am I gonna register, and am I gonna go, and am I gonna engage, am I gonna be there fully? What pops in your head? What emotions do you feel? Let's be honest with each other. Yes.
How can I get out of it?
How can I get out of it? Yeah. Yeah, that's real. Absolutely, yes.
I mean, I'll be vulnerable because I want to know if anybody else is feeling the same way. I get a lot of anxiety around it, and some days are better than others, right? I commit to something because I'm feeling really good that day. I feel like committing to it, but then the day rolls around, and it's like, you know, maybe I didn't sleep last night. Maybe I haven't been, maybe my diet's been crap, and I just feel lethargic and just don't, right? And,
Yeah.
And forcing the words to come as I meet somebody new seems a little harder that day. That maybe I didn't think it was going to feel quite as hard the day that I committed.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
I don't know. Am I anybody, or am I just weird?
Yeah, let's help her out. Like, come on. Come on. Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yes, how about you?
I'm always anxious before I go, and my first thought is, man, if there's somebody there I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's real. Yeah, all these are real. How about a couple more? Yes.
Well, I'm probably different than a lot of people, because my first instinct
Oh
is
boy, we got a sick one here.
I hope there's free food.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah.
That's my first thought, but I really do like a good party.
Yes.
Or talking to people and getting to know people. So
Okay. All right.
I am not the norm.
Yeah. How many of you, where it's like, you're looking at the, like, I'll sign up for the after hours ones, or like the later in the evening, because the odds of there being a drink there is a lot higher than like a 10 o'clock in the morning networking thing, right? Like, I'll sign up for the ones with the drink for sure. Yeah, how about?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jennifer, for sure. Like, I'll sign up for something, and then the day rolls around, I get a little tense. But I'm an hourly employee, and I think that helps, because I'm like, no matter what, I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah.
When I used to be a business owner, I was like, I can't waste my time with that.
Yeah.
But now,
So
when I
value
do
piece
wake up
to it.
anxious and stuff, I try to go into it like, this is gonna be social hour. This is how I'm gonna talk to people today. Because I'm so regimented on my other things that, like, I try to look at networking as like more of a social thing and less of a sales thing.
Yeah.
And I think that helps.
That's a good tactic right there. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's kind of a mixed bag for me, so I'm better one-on-one, but I still get nervous after 36 years getting in front of a whole group of people.
Yeah.
And I've done it, and I can do it, but I'm always afraid that I'm going to choke. I'm going to remember what I wanted to say. And so, like, in the morning when I get up, I'll be like, Okay, what am I gonna say in front of everybody today? That kind of gives me, the anxiety.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I usually just stick to, how's the market?
How's the market? Yes, yeah, which everybody wants to know, right? Absolutely.
The number one question.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a whole spectrum. There's also like a whole spectrum of different like types of events that you can go to, right? Is it the ones where I got to stand up in front of someone and give my pitch, and then it's like, oh no, and like I'm typically like really well rehearsed, like in front of my mirror, but when I get up in front of people, it's like, the words just like escape me, right? Yeah. And then there's some events where I can actually like, it's easier to hide, right? And go, and there's the masses, and I can be in and also be pretty good at isolating. Which, some of us have a tendency of doing, if we're honest, right? Like, I like to go, and I can say I was a part of the event. I was there, took my pictures, saw a couple people, shook a couple of hands, but those larger events are a little bit easier to hide in. And are we actually doing the work of networking? Are we actually doing value add work for the business, right? And I think those are questions that we always have to kind of wrestle with. I like the tactic of like, this is social hour. And I do think that there's some truth to that and some strength to that we can gain. If we actually just kind of reframe what the purpose of that event is, which is what we'll talk about a little bit today. There's this thing for me where I always have to like wrestle with first, like, why does networking feel off, right? And I'll even go back to why I told my leadership at the time when he called me to be a part of the sales team, why I was like, absolutely not, right? Because there's these things that it's just like, I don't like, personally, I don't like making people feel like the relationship is transactional.
Oh, that's your fault.
Like, I can't stand people feeling like I'm only there for the sake of getting something from them, right? And so that's that's real. In fact, it's like the car salesman thing. Like, my wife and I are like somewhat in the market for a newer vehicle, and I told her like, no, like we'll drive through after they close.
Sunday.
Like Sunday, yeah. I want to go, I want to look, and I want to see, and I don't want someone coming at me. Okay, like I can't stand when I'm in the store and I got someone hovering, and they asked me like 5 minutes ago, can I help you with anything? And then they come back around, they do their lap, and it's like, you sure you need anything? Like, dude, I'll come get them. I'll have my people talk to your people, okay? If the need rises, right? Like there's just this weird feeling about it. It feels a little performative, a little fake. I don't love that feeling, right? I can always tell, like you and I, like you can sense it too when someone's putting it on. You can also sense when you're having to put it on. When you just like inherently feel like, I think I got to put on a face right now. It's disingenuous. And I'm an authentic person, and I love engaging with authentic people. And so sometimes like this networking thing feels like I got to be someone I'm not. I don't love that, right? It feels a little like contact collecting. Like the game is like, how many business cards can I get, this time around? Which is great. For some of us, like those business cards, that's like, we can equate that to revenue. That's a part of the job of building business. It's like, I gotta go out, I gotta make connections, I gotta bring leads in, and I gotta sell. I gotta sell. But sometimes it can feel like it's just another contact. And are we actually gonna do anything with it? That's that CRM piece that you were talking about, right? Where sometimes the system necessitates that we follow a process, and it doesn't actually lead to outcomes that are like long-term and viable. And then there's this like lots of cards, little connection, right? I've got a business card book back in my office right now, and it's got 100 pages of business cards, and I know like I can flip through that thing, but I promise you, like I gotta go. Now, I know I met that person, and there's just no connection, right? Like I struggle with that. If you're like me at all, and this like relationships matter at all, surface level connection just feels off for me, right? And so I think that's where we get this idea of networking feels a little, do I really gotta go do it? And today maybe we can just do this work of reframing what networking actually could be. I think there's this equation for me where networking equals building and nurturing relationships. Not as transactional as it can sometimes feel like. Right? How do I really make networking about building and nurturing relationships? I really like that equation. Because when I go in with that frame of mind, it reshapes what my purpose is in the moment, right? Which then I think I heard someone say, like, I'm really hoping someone else is there. That's actually like when you get into these events where you're constantly going and constantly seeing the same people and over and over again, you want to meet new people, but where this building and nurturing relationships actually exists is actually in the same people that you see over and over and over again. We're going to talk about why that's a strength, why that's a power later on, but there is this thing where there was a moment where I started feeling like, well, I'm just seeing the same exact people every single time I go to these events. Is it even adding value? Yeah, it is. We'll talk about that. But yes, that is actually a really good thing when I see the same people that I know that I met at an event and you just go and go, yeah.
Well, and before you flipped slides a couple of slides ago, I was thinking, like with a lot of things, consistency is important, right?
Yes.
So now instead of building muscle, I'm building my networking muscle. And
yep. That's right.
You know, the more I go, the more I see people I know at more things, and it feels a little bit better.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not feeling quite up to myself that day or whatever.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's huge. Any other thoughts or comments? How does it, yes?
I think it's also valuable when you think about the outcome of it. So for example, even if I did not have the energy, but I went and I was able to help someone out of that interaction, whatever my product is or whatever it is that I'm there for is hopefully transforming someone's life, right? So if they see that value and meet that right person and we're able to benefit from each other, what's better than that?
Yeah.
Plus also building relationship in your community. I am new to Monument. I don't know a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what better way than to meet like-minded people
That's right.
in a society like this?
So true. Yeah. So true. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say is the networking and the relationship, nurturing the relationship, it's very beneficial because everybody I know has a contact list.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And you can build in your business on other people's contact list as long as you've built that, nurtured that relationship.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, I think that leads to this kind of next point of like this idea that relationships lead to trust, right? I think oftentimes in the business world, we're oftentimes thinking that, trust should just come inherently with this idea that like you have a need and I have a product to give you to meet that need, or I have a service to give you to meet the need. And so trust is inherent, right? But that's not actually the case. Like you might have a product that I need, or you might have a service that I need, but that doesn't actually mean that you get my trust if I engage with your services or buy your product. Trust is built, and it has to be built. And the intentionality with which we enter in to actually establish and build that trust, nurture and build that relationship, that is a currency that you really, you can't, it's hard to quantify, but you can down the road quantify and qualify it. Absolutely. And then you've got this idea that trust leads to introductions, referrals, opportunities. That's what I believe is Dan, right? That's what Dan's talking about right here, right? And then there's this opportunity is a result, not the starting point. And I honestly think when you walk into a room, and if you're walking into the room with this like anxiousness around like I gotta find a deal today, that's a different type of energy that you are going into network with than if you're walking into the space going, what's a new, like who's someone new that I don't know but I want to establish a relationship with, right? Like I can just tell you, like not every time I go to an event is someone looking for furniture for their office. It's not the case, right? I've been a part of the chamber, the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC for 6 years now, maybe just a touch over 6 years, and I've gotten some deals with some people that I've engaged with through the chamber, but not because I've been a part of the chamber for 6 years and I go to every single event. It's because these are people that I have relationships with. And they've learned that they can trust me over time, right? And so I like this idea of entering into the networking, like a networking experience with this idea of lead with giving. Like networking, this is a huge key for me personally that I always carry this. If there's one thing that I would say, like, walk away with this today, this is the one right here. Networking is not about what I can get, it is about what I can give. I'm always looking for a place where I can enter in and serve. I'm always looking for a place where I can enter in, and not because I have a product that I think can help meet their need, but I love like entering in and going into an opportunity where I'm meeting someone new, and I go, hey, you need to meet so-and-so, right? You should come with me. This person over here, actually, right? And I love being a connector. So now I go to events after all these years of doing events and networking. I actually go to events just trying to figure out who can I connect, right? Who can I help out? And it's just a different frame of mind. How can I enter in with this idea of not what I can get, but what can I give? Because I do believe that leads to this idea of authenticity plus warmth and helpful follow-up. That's like real relationships. That's the real work of networking, in my personal opinion. It's also this idea of real relationships become mutually beneficial over time. Now, I go to an event now with the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC, and I can point to about 10 to 12 different people. 10 to 12 different people that I know talk about me when I'm not in the room. Because of relationships that we've established. Because of the building and the nurturing of that relationship that has actually occurred. How does this idea, networking is not about what I can get, but it is about what I can give, how does that resonate or sit or even challenge you right now? Like, what's going on in your minds as you think about that? Yeah.
So, two things for me. I think relationship takes time. But to speak to this, it actually depends on where you are in life. So if you're at that phase, you need to get your bills paid. It's difficult to lead with giving. You want to sell because at the end of the month, you have bills to pay. But if you really don't have any bills to pay, you can go in and engage people. So I think we all need to adopt a mindset that everything is fine, even though it's not fine.
Yeah.
So that you can go in and relate with people properly. Otherwise, if you keep carrying I have needs, I have bills to pay, even when you smile, someone else can see it.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's probably actually one of the toughest aspects of networking is how do I enter into the space with authenticity and also like not put off this desperation or this like, because it's important. Like wherever I choose to be, I'm prescribing a time and value to where I'm choosing to be. And that cost, right? And if I've got this weight on my mind and this weight on my heart of, I got bills to pay. Like this is actually really important. I hope I do turn up a lead in this deal, in this time together. Like that's heavy. Like I wonder, how do we? The question there, I think that needs to resonate with us, that we need to be challenged with is, how do we go to a networking event and be fully present there with the reality that life is going on, right? Anybody got some tips and tricks to that?
What comes up for me with the lead with giving is, I always think about it like in an agrarian type sense. It's like, I'm going there to spread seeds instead of going there to harvest, right? So, like if you continue to spread seed, however, like to her point earlier is, you want to also like follow up and have that relationship. Like, hey, I heard about this construction project that may need, steel fabrication, and I just met a guy who does steel fabrication. Hey, Brian, here goes this company here starting this project up, and do a follow-up there. You can do 1,000 of those, but like she said, does that other person take that seed and say, hey, I need to water a relationship and continue that? And if you're thinking about it in dollars and cents, that costs them money to actually take time to do that. In my experience, that hasn't happened very much. And so I look at it like, well, do I continue to spread this seed, or do I go in hot and say, I need to find the person who's got the most opportunity for my services to help them and try to build a network there.
Yeah.
And so that's the question I'm still trying to answer. Is
Yeah.
I've been the giver
Yeah.
for years, and
Yeah.
it hasn't reaped any fruit afterwards. So
Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think if you give, you know, without expecting anything, you naturally will receive at some point. You know, giving doesn't mean you gotta go in there and buy everybody's, whatever it is
Yeah,
they do.
right,
you know?
right.
I mean, you'll go bankrupt doing that, to your point. But it can be connecting people like you said. You know, hey, I know somebody that you gotta meet, and they're over here, and if, you know, that relationship might benefit you. You might, make a sale from that, or maybe, something that you have to purchase for your construction project will be cheaper with them, or whatever the case. And so those are the things in that people, you know, at least you hope at some point will remember. You go, you know, that guy, the Luther guy, you know, he helps me out in a lot of different ways, and you know, I wanna think of him next time I'm connecting with someone else.
Yeah.
So, you know, giving can, you know, being generous can come back to you in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, Dan.
To me anyway, networking is a marketing function. There are a lot of different ways that you can execute a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And networking is a long game. And you can't go into networking like it's a short game. You're not going to get a sale from that networking event. You may not get any return on that investment of time for a year or more.
Yeah.
And I've seen that in my own business. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
It takes a long time.
Yeah. And
It's the expectations you go in with.
I think that's the trick, right? It is a little bit of that expectations, and I don't want to like. I think that is a question that we have to continue. There's this idea years ago that I heard from a leadership podcast that I listened to, and it's this idea of managing the tensions, right? Like, I don't know about you, but as a leader, my job, I'm always trying to drive out the tensions in the business, right? And a lot of tensions can absolutely be solved for. Help me understand where the roadblocks are, help me understand where the barriers are, and I will take care of that, and I'll run the tension out of the business as best as I possibly can. Then there are tensions. The idea that this leadership podcast was talking around was this idea of there are tensions that we have to learn how to manage because they're never going to go away. They're always going to exist within the business, right? Like, I'm always going to have a bill to pay, and I'm always going to have business to build. And and both of those exist at the same exact time. And sometimes I think we feel like with networking that it's an either or. That I got to go and I got to do this thing to build business, or I got to focus here and focus, you know, in the business, paying the bills. And like, there's this, can kind of feel like this either or, and it's a cost to either side when I choose to do the other thing, right? Which is real, which is true. That to me feels like a question that I always want to be wrestling with. Not because there's not, I don't think that there's a perfect answer to it, but I always want to be challenged with this idea of, am I leading with generosity? Am I leading with this giving perspective? And am I open to what might come because of that? And that's an easier said than done type of philosophy. Again, I've been a part of the chamber. I've been a part of doing these things, like these networking things, for 6 years now. And I will say that, like with the chamber specifically, I've turned up, there's been 3 deals that have come to my business. 3 deals. Specific to the chamber. But there's been significantly more outside of the chamber because this company and these people heard from these people that I engaged with at the chamber, like, and all of a sudden there's this dot connecting that's happening, and there's a lineup that's happening around this person that the marketplace has come to know in Jeff, that is consistent, and that is authentic, and that is real, and there's integrity there, and that's who people want to work with. And so that's how and so there has been a benefit. I do think it's a long game, but I just want to recognize, like, that is a challenge that I think everybody in this room, in some respects, like we're all wrestling with that. I mean, I wrestle with that on a regular basis. I lead a team of 14 salespeople, and it's like, well, do I focus here in the business, leading them, or am I focused externally, and where's the trade-off cost there?
I think too, continuing with that agrarian theme, is I always try to ask myself, is this the right soil that I'm going to plant this
There we
seed
go.
in? Because like you can go to 1,000 networking things, and maybe the people that are there, they love what you're saying. It sounds really cool to them, but man, they're a therapist. They don't care nothing about construction, or like they're like, in like, I don't know, investments or something like that, and you do some type of physical therapy, it doesn't match up. And so trying to really identify the right soil type and the right networking events or like strategy to go about that is sometimes the harder, deeper question.
100% to that. I mean, just anecdotally, like when I first was like, well, I got to really ramp up my networking. I signed up for everything, right? I was a chamber. I was part of all these committees. There was a firestorm. There was B&I. There was no shortage of things that and there's still today. There's no shortage of things that you could go and be doing. And I did that for about a year and a half. And then after about a year and a half, I started looking at it, one, from a cost perspective, because to your point, it is a part of the marketing arm of the business, and I got to look at my marketing dollars. And I got to know, like, am I actually are these things adding value? So then what I did is I went through and I said, okay, where are the things that I just feel like it's not putting me around the right people, it's not adding value to me, it's not growing me, it's not developing me, and it's just like I feel more like I got to put more energy into it than what I get out of it, right? There's one in particular where they said, hey, you should be on the board and you should help us build this networking thing up. Well, I have a responsibility to build my business. I can't be about building like this thing over here at the cost of building the business. That's all of our number one. That's why we're all here today, because we're about building business, right? And so you got to really get smart about where do I put my time and energy, what things, what networking events, what organizations are going to put me around the right people. And that could be like people who need my services, people who need my product, but also people who help me get better. People who are like developing, people who I feel challenged by. Like there might be some people, like some of the stuff I do is just purely to be around some of these business leaders, these men and women who I just like really aspire to be because of the way that they manage their business, the way that they lead their people, the cultures that they've established within their business. And so I'll spend time there, and then I spend time with the chamber. But then I cut about 4 or 5 different things that I'm not going to do this anymore because it's not adding to me, it's not adding to the business. You do have to be really intentional about that. I'm going to go here first. I saw some hands over here. Yes.
I was going to say, one thing that, at least in my experience, complicates what you were talking about, though, is that you don't know who those people know, right? So you could look at it just judging a book by its cover and say, hey, this is a therapist, like they don't need construction services. But their husband could work in construction, or they could know, all of their whole family owns a construction company. And I found the hard way that those conversations sometimes lead to business.
Yeah.
But then it's hard to know, am I in the right space, right? Am I talking to people who don't necessarily need my services right now, but they know 10 people who do and can pass it on, right? And then it comes back to that, how you have no idea if people are resonating with what you're selling or what your product is, and if they are passing that on.
Again, it's attention to manage.
It is.
It's attention to manage, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm totally with you on the leadership thing, because I ran a networking group for about 3 years, and I just wasn't getting anything out of it. But when you're the leader, you also have to be the bad guy, right? Well, these two guys are fighting. Now we have to have a mediation thing. You do this, you do fences, and you do decks, but they sometimes overlap, and so he was talking about fences, and he was talking about decks, and this guy, so you end up being the bad guy because you also have to enforce the rules. And so it was funny though. I finally just kind of left that group. I got super busy with other things, and so I'm just like, I'm going to turn this group over to somebody else.
Yeah.
It's funny though, because I actually got a couple of lifelong relationships out of that later ended up purchasing multiple properties from me. And so it's like, well, it finally panned out, but as the leader, you can kind of be the bad guy. People don't necessarily like you when you have to enforce rules. Hey, it's time to get started. It's all the things you have to, you have to enforce.
Sure. Yeah.
Doesn't make you as likable as maybe if
Yeah.
you're just in the group. So I stopped being the leader.
Yeah. That's great. I'm gonna zip through a couple slides here because I do think I've already sensed quite a bit of level of authenticity in the room. So I'm really loving the conversations we're having. These are just some ideas that for me that I always have to remind myself of when I'm getting ready to go into networking, right? To get this relationships piece right. There's this first one here for me, which is just this idea of be fully yourself. Again, there's no networking persona that's required. Jeff, and then there's Jeffrey. Don't do that to yourself, right? Be fully who you are in every room you enter into. That is what people grab a hold of. That is what people cling to, is who you are consistently. I think I heard the word consistency over here, right? It's who people see you to be and how you show up consistently, right? And so being fully yourself, professional doesn't always equal artificial. It doesn't at all. So just make sure that you are fully yourself and you're not showing up with this face on that people are struggling to know whether or not it's real. Okay, people connect with real people. That is truth. It's true for you. That means it's true for anybody that would be engaging with you, or that you would want to be engaging with you, right? And then confidence grows when you stop performing. The anxiety that we feel sometimes around networking is what we're trying to put off, when really, if we just stick to being fully ourselves, there's a little bit more of a calm and a peace that happens within the body when we enter in with this idea of being fully ourselves. Also, this idea of you represent more than your company. I always want to be mindful of that for me. I'm there to represent Workplace Resource, but before I'm there to represent Workplace Resource, I represent myself. People, we've all heard this, right? People don't buy your product and they don't buy your service, they buy you, right? We've all heard that time and time again. And it's truer more today than it is ever, right? Because the landscape is so competitive. People, you hear from me, I'm a furniture dealer. You think I got competitors? Yeah, there are 10 businesses between Denver and Colorado Springs that do exactly what my company does. I had no idea until I got into the industry. Had no idea that I would be competing with 10 other similar size, all do the same type of work, and now I got to figure out how to differentiate myself. Do you know what always differentiates myself when I walk into a room compared to my competitors?
You.
Me. Because anybody can sell a chair, and anybody can design an office, and anybody can install a desk. Not anybody could be Jeff Hawthorn. That's just truth. And so that is what you have to really be intentional about putting out there, especially for your business, right? Character, tone, consistency matter. People ask, do I trust this person? That's a constant question people are asking as they're engaging with you. They're constantly asking, whether it comes out verbally or whether it's just staying in the mind, they're constantly asking, do I trust this person? You are the relationship, not just the logo. In fact, nobody here, I promise, has even heard about Workplace Resource. When I started working for Workplace Resource in Colorado Springs, the company had been in Colorado Springs for 26 years. And my entire first 2 to 3 years of working with the company was just going out and telling people, helping people understand who we are and what we do. Been here in the market for 26 years. But most people don't know us, right? And so the job is to get to know, help the market know the company. And the way they get to know the company is by knowing the person, knowing the people within the company, right? Trust lives at the human level, which is why we have to be very intentional about being humanistic ourselves, right? And then this idea of leading with value. I always want to bring curiosity to the table. I can't tell you that value alone for me has drastically changed how I engage with people on a regular basis, is leading with curiosity, right? When I love, tell me who you are. but then tell me what you're all about, and then tell me more. And I'm always going to be I always want to ask more, lead with curiosity, because it's in the asking questions, getting to know people. That's where that trust, that relationship starts to be nurtured and built. Is when I'm just trying to figure out a little bit more about people than just the standard, like, I'm Jeff Hawthorn and I'm a commercial furniture dealer. That's what I do. Well, we do so much more than just what our business does, right? Like, we're people. People bring more value than just what the business does. And so curiosity alone will help us flesh that out and start to build those relationships, nurture those relationships, bring encouragement, bring a helpful mindset. Value can be attention, listening, our introduction. I do think that when I go to a networking thing, I want to lead with giving, right? And so this is where that can kind of enter in, right? Because I can't tell you, like, the number of times that I've had people come and go, I just wasn't really looking forward to this thing. I'm glad I'm here, but I wasn't ready for it this morning. And just a simple, like, well, I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad you're here. There's actually a friend of mine who's a part of this chamber, and one of the things that he's really good at is he's really good about, like, asking just a little bit of the next question that gets people to a little bit more of the feels. And you know, all of a sudden it, like, turns into a little bit of like a therapy session almost. Sometimes these networking events can actually feel like that, right? Like, we all carry a significant amount of weight and a significant amount of burden in our businesses day to day. And sometimes I just need a smiling face and someone to go, I see you. And sometimes at these events is where that happens. How can I be that for someone else, right? And then this, you know, when you approach an event, I always want to be intentional, right? So going with intention. Who am I going? Why am I going? Who do I hope to meet? These are things that you just want to be like. These are the types of things that can help you when you're starting to feel anxious, or when you're starting to feel that, oh, how can I get out of this? Right? These are the things that if I can just start to answer these questions as a preparation for the event, that anxiety starts to dissipate more and more. Right? So how do I want to show up? Define that. Before you get there, define how you want to show up and who you want to be in the room before you get there, right? And then back that out and say, what has to be true for that to happen, right? And then one or two ways I might be helpful. Again, can I connect someone? Can I encourage someone? Right? Can I just smile at someone? How many of you feel like sometimes when you get into a networking event, it feels a little bit like, I grew up in the church, so a junior high youth group, where you walk in, you got the guys on one side, the girls on the other, you're like, which side do I flow to, right? Like, I'm always looking, I'm trying to see who is on the outside, who is in the margins that I can bring into the middle, right? And so it never fails, I go to an event and I see someone, you know, standing on the side, kind of looking around, drinking a cup of coffee. Everybody got their phone out, looking like they're maybe doing something business-wise, but I know you're not. I know you're checking your LinkedIn, trying to look busy because you don't want someone to walk up with you. I'm going there. That's where I'm going. Right? Because that person feels a little disconnected. I want to make them feel connected. Right? People that you can help make feel connected in a networking environment, like, those are the people that start to speak about you to other people, right? The one thing that I've heard time and time again about me personally, not to toot my own horn, just anecdotally, some of my own experience, the people that they constantly talk about how I connect and help them engage in the space. Like, that's why I'm even here today, I guess, right? It's just like, I love just making people feel connected. And for you, in your roles, that has to be the purpose. That has to be the intention with which you go in. And so my encouragement is just, how can I be helpful? Be intentional about that. A couple of other things, like start engagements well. Smile, for goodness sakes, please. Can't tell you the number of times I walk into your room and people are just like, oof, it's a little cold over there, right? Like, just put on a smile. Put on a smile. You're there. You're gonna be there. If you're gonna be there, then let's go. Be intentional. Put on a smile. Make eye contact. Make eye contact. People want to be seen. We all have this inherent need and desire to be seen. And so make eye contact with people. Open with warmth. I think it's interesting. If you look up studies, there are all kinds of studies out there, but they talk about this idea that first impressions form somewhere in the ballpark of 7 to 10 seconds of people seeing you. Like without even like reading your name tag, without even engaging with you, without a shake of the hand, they've already determined in 7 to 10 seconds, somewhere in that ballpark, of the type of person that they think you might be. That's really important to capture. That's really important to understand. Because if that's true, I gotta be even more intentional with how I show up, because I want them to make a decision to make bids towards me, not away from me. Right? And then ask a simple, natural question. I think I have some ideas around natural questions here. Like, what brought you here today? This is that curiosity piece. What brought you here today? Or what do you enjoy most about what you do? Like, this is the type of stuff that gets beyond, like, I'm Jeff and I do ABC. Right? So what are those questions? What's been energizing you lately? I think that's a fun question. I was at Breakfast and Business Cards, Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC. They have an event called Breakfast and Business Cards. 100 and something people in the room, a couple times, like once every other month or so. And I like that question because it's in the morning. Everybody's got a cup of coffee in their hand, but they're not yet fully thinking and what, and that's a question that kind of like puts them off a little bit. Like, whoa, what's been energizing me here lately? Well, I thought you were going to ask me what I do, but what's been energizing me here lately? That's a different question with a different answer, right? I was at an event the other night, at a ribbon cutting. Someone asked this question that put me and another friend that I've met in networking in the business community kind of like took us aback. And the question was, what's been filling up your time lately? It's just a very different question. Not thought about that, and it just gets to a different level with the individual, right? That was a fun one. I like this idea of inviting story. Not just status. Invite story. Sound like genuine interest, not interrogation. I'm a storyteller by nature anyway, and I like to hear other people's stories. And so those questions kind of help get at the stories. This is the other thing I would say. Know your pitch. Know your pitch. This is actually the most irritating thing for me personally. Is I'm not. Try to get me to say something in 30 seconds and then shut up. So I'm actually not great at this. I have to like remind myself often. I gotta know my pitch. I was at another event recently, and there's an individual that I met at a networking event a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Okay, and we see each other at events often. One of these consistent individuals that we see, right? And I just remember back to when he gave me his pitch the first time I met him, right? And we don't talk a lot at these events, but we're always like, I'm like, I don't need this guy's services, so I'm not all that intentional with the individual. It was just a couple weeks ago, but he came up again to me, and we got more time at the event to engage, and we started talking. And I go, wait a minute, can you tell me again, what do you do? What's your business do? And he told me a very different pitch than what he did the first time I met him a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And I straight up told him, like, whoa, that is not at all what I thought that your business was. I thought you were this business. And he's like, yeah, I wasn't that great at my pitch back then. I mean, the pitch couldn't have been night and day, like more different. I thought for sure he had switched jobs, switched companies, something or other, but it was like, no, he had to get better at his pitch, right? And I do think that's critical. Like if this is the only place that these people are gonna get a sense of what I'm about and what it is that I do, whether it's a product I sell or the service I provide, I've gotta get really good at making it concise and clear so that they can understand it. Right? Because I'm telling you, I would have lost money on that one with that individual. So again, who do you help and how in one sentence? Right? I'm Jeffrey Hawthorn. I work for Workplace Resource, and I help create environments where people can come and be the best versions of themselves and do the best work. Now, not once did I say anything in there about furniture, but I always get, tell me how you do that. Like, what does that mean? What is that? Like I always get, so I actually want my pitch to inspire the question that leads to a conversation, maybe even a little bit of a story. So think about that for yourselves. Make it a conversation starter, not a sales script. Practice until it sounds like you're not at a rehearsal. I think this is a good example. I'm Sam, and I help small business owners make sense of their finances, mostly by translating the numbers into plain English so they can make decisions with confidence. And then lately, I've been working with a lot of first-time founders, which I love. Right? Like that's a decent pitch right there. I just wonder, is anybody brave enough right now to give us their pitch? Come on,
Sure.
right here. Let's go.
I own Sherwood Showdown. We're an indoor archery dodgeball arena. So it's kind of the combination of dodgeball games mixed with bows and arrows, and we do a lot of team building, large group events, family events, things like that.
Wow, okay, I love that. Yeah, tell me what you like most about doing that work.
It's fun. It's easy to talk about. People hear archery dodgeball and they're like, what?
Yeah.
It's not something that you've heard a lot, and I think there are certain industries, no offense to anybody in this room, that people's eyes kind of glaze over. They're like, oh, yeah, insurance. I don't really need insurance. I have insurance, you know.
Yeah.
This to me makes it easy to connect with people because it's fun.
It's great. So how can my business get value from that?
It offers you something different to do with your employees or outside of a business setting. For you and your family, provides value for you and your friends. It gives you an option of something to do that is different and unique.
Love it.
And a new experience.
Great job. Love that. Can we give her a round of applause? One more? Yeah, right here.
As a military spouse of 35 years, I have been in so many new environments, every kind of event, I'm always the new person in the room. And so now I help men and women create wardrobes that help them show up as the best version of themselves, no matter what kind of room they walk into.
Ooh, okay, I love that. Tell me, what do you find fun about doing that?
I love the transformation. And I love the minute that people go from being stressed about how am I supposed to show up, it's a lot of this stuff, to I feel great about how I look and feel as I walk into this room.
Love that. Give her a round of applause. Yeah, I mean, I think you gotta, like, that was fantastic, great job. Like, you gotta know the value that you're bringing to the table, and being able to articulate it in a way that people can digest it, and then take it with them, and you give them enough of a little bit of a thing that goes, okay, like, can I ask a couple more questions about that? I'm a little bit curious about that, and what is the nugget that you want them to take away that they might remember 3 days from now, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, right? So I would counsel you all, like, practice this. We won't do it today for the sake of time, but that was lovely. And I think, like, as well as these ladies did, that's where we've got to be. Each and every single one of us. We've got to be that sharp with our pitches. And then I think there's this other idea of, like, ending engagements well. I was at an event just a couple of nights ago, and this "don't drift away awkwardly" isn't it? You know, someone did that to me. Don't do this to people. Like, just don't. Like, we were in the middle of this conversation. The conversation was clearly going dead, and he just kind of. And I watched him for the heck of it. So I just thought, well, you know, here we go. Right? Don't do this to people. Don't drift away awkwardly. Name the connection. Create a bridge for future contact. Okay? Leave the door open gracefully. I like these phrases. These are good example phrases that you could use to end the connection. Because, like, some connections just absolutely need to end. Right? Like, you are there to connect with people. So, you know, I always go in with this idea of I want to make 3 connections. That's for me. You can set a number in your head, but I always want to make 3 connections. So, you know, like an hour and a half of networking event flies. It really does. Like, when you get in the middle of it, it can really fly. So you got to learn how to end these engagements well, because guess what? You're going to probably see them at the next event. I know this guy that walked away awkwardly the other day. I see that guy everywhere. Now I'm going to be seeing him leaving awkwardly at all. There's nobody in this room, I promise. But I'm like, you know, just, you know, so here's some example phrases. It was really great meeting you. I enjoyed hearing about your work, right? I'm glad we connected. I'd love to stay in touch. That's where you kind of swap the swap the business cards, but you gave a very simple cue. Conversations come to an end. It's time to move on, right? Before we break, right? Again, a verbal cue. Let me grab your card and I'll follow up. If you're actually going to follow up, we'll talk about that too. And I'm going to let you meet a few more people, but I'm glad we talked, right? Because you're just honoring the fact that they are there to do the same thing you're there to do. Network, connect, engage, build and nurture relationships, right? And so you just want to honor that. I'm going to let you go, but it was great to meet you, right? Here's some follow-up tips. Again, that follow-up piece. Don't say you're going to follow up if you're not going to follow up. This is where I think a lot of networking starts to fall off. Like failure comes to bear on networking is in the follow-up, right? This is kind of like one of those things. How many of you like in the dating world and you're like, well, do I like follow up a day after? Do I wait 3 days, right? Don't want to seem anxious, right? Like this is that type of dynamic. Within a day or two, just sending a quick note just to say, hey, I'm glad that we connected. It's great to meet you. Hope to see you at the next event, right? Be specific where you met, what you discussed. Like recently I sent an email like, hey, we were at this event. It was great to meet you. You know, like let them know, because if they're like you, which probably they are, they went to a bunch of events. Like in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I was at in the last week, I was at 4 different networking events, right? And so be specific, because you're helping them out, right? Be personal, right? Like a human. Okay, be careful. Do not put this stuff into AI and then not like check it. I'm okay. I'm all about using AI tools. I really am. I use AI for my business and it is great. But it is so impersonal. I can tell. And so go back through it, reread it, put your personal touch in it. Like, make sure you're coming across. And then be helpful. Share a resource. That's the curiosity is important. Because if I know that you're kind of interested in like this topic, right? I want to be an insight provider. And so I'll go, if I've read an article recently, or I read something, or I saw something on LinkedIn, or I have a tool or a resource, or I know someone who's a tool or resource, I'll send a follow-up email and I'll connect someone. I'll send an insight. Right? People want to see, like if you put yourself out there as a value add in that way, that's a part of building and nurturing relationships, and people grab hold of that. Right? Yeah.
Talking about that AI, I was talking to Dan, and I read an article recently. A college professor gave instructions on how to write this paper for the final.
Yeah.
Okay. He gave him very specific instructions, enough instruction that you could just cut and paste that into AI and maybe come up with the paper.
Yeah, sure.
But he, in white lettering so they couldn't see it, he put something in there that then would come out. It would, I think he said, mention Mazatlan in the paper every so often that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
85% of the students had put it into AI and not checked it, and they turned it in as their work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we hear that and we go, oh my goodness, right? Like that's real, like in that sense. It's real in the business world too, right? Like you can really start to feel disconnected because you're using these great tools, but the real you isn't coming to. Again, people connect at the human level. I saw something else. Yeah.
Yep. So I actually have 2 things. I actually heard about a similar story where a professor essentially put like white text into the instructions. So when the instructions went through AI would be able to pick up that white text, while students would not be able to pick up that white text, and the white text contained hidden instructions.
Sure.
To essentially do like something completely different than what the topic of the paper was.
Yeah.
And it made it like really easy to tell like the difference between like AI and like real persons. But I will say, AI's gone to a point where they have their own stylings of how it's done, like Claude, OpenAI. Once you like figure out the different tools, you can kind of see, hey, the person who made this thought about it this way, thought about it this way, thought about it this way. And once you figure out those like patterns, at that point you can just easily translate, hey, this was made by AI. Hey, this was actually made by a person. Yeah. I feel like now it's like, if anything, it's like they've been updating it, they're trying to make it better and better. But that's one area where they haven't been able to make it better. Like you still can tell apart what AI wrote and what people wrote.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, the point in all that really is like, where can I enter in human connection? Where can I enter in authenticity and all that, right? which is so important there. And then I would just say, like, don't overdo it. Continue the conversation, but don't chase, right? There are some of these that sometimes we actually make a connection at these things that actually we feel like could absolutely lead to business, could absolutely lead to an opportunity, and those are the ones that we start to feel a little anxious around. We start to, you know, but be again, just human. Be careful. Think about, like, again, I don't like being in the store and 4 or 5 people coming and hitting me, you know, to ask me if I need help. I'm there for a reason. I'm going to get what I need to get, and I don't. Yeah, and then I'm going to ask a question when I need a question. So, you know, there's a point where sometimes, like, adding value is like too much. Can feel too much, right?
I try to think about when I'm networking, like, sometimes just adding value is what you kind of said a couple slides later, is being able to, because people love to be able to prescribe something.
Yes.
And they say, oh, hey, I got something for that. Like, hey, here's a card, or here's somebody that I know, or have you met this person yet, or have you thought about maybe trying this type of remedy out?
Yep.
People love to be able to do that. So if you can, like, maybe, like, figure out a way to make your elevator pitch or your, like, really quick thing be something that's so simple, like what you were saying, I help business owners, you know, create a nice workplace or whatever, then people will think, okay, there's this guy, talked about workplaces, they made them better.
Yes.
Boom, here's a card for that person.
Yes.
It just makes it easier for them to, like, recall, you know, what it is they want to prescribe to somebody. Because they like being this, like, it helps them, you know, look cool in the room, right? It's like that little factor.
Yes, 100%, which I think, you know, those are the types of things that you want to be able to remember to people. I do like this simple follow-up system. I like to capture the name, capture the context, capture one helpful next step, and to decide when you will follow up. I think that's also where you can kind of capture, like, okay, I met so-and-so, and this is what they say they do. This is the service that they provide. This is how they help. Like, if I can remember how someone helps, then I can, when someone else down the road mentions that they need help with this, that's perfect. Like, that's great. And then the value I get to add is the connect the two, right? And people always remember the connector. They always remember the connector. So, and quite frankly, I just have a lot of fun doing it. I think you can too. Like, when your business is seen as someone who doesn't just provide a service and doesn't just provide a product, but also provides this like connection in the marketplace, that's fun, because we, like, the small business community, I can't remember what the stats are today, but at one point I heard that in Colorado Springs proper, 56+% of the business community is small business. We need each other more than we actually might understand. But when we're talking about each other out in the marketplace to other businesses, that's the power of the marketplace in the business community. I think that's what this looks like when networking is done well. People talk about you when you're not in the room. I take so much pride in that for myself. Like that, I'm so honored by that personally. When people, when I hear that people have been talking about me in a space that I've not been a part of, man, that's one, humbling. It's 2, sobering. But man, 3, it's like so honoring. Now, hopefully, it's like good stuff, I guess. It could go the other direction, which is true about networking in general. Because odds are people are going to talk about the experiences that they've had with you. Hopefully, it's good, but that's on you. That's on you, because nobody else controls me. Nobody else is responsible for me. So how I enter into networking is all on me. My hope is that I get people talking about me when I'm not in the room. Actually, I never thought about it until way after the fact. But it is a natural outcome of really good networking. They recommend you, they advocate for you, they introduce you to others, and they network on your behalf. That's actually what you want to aim at. If you get an opportunity, you get a lead, that is fantastic. That's a win, obviously. That's what we want to happen. But more so, nowadays, I'm pursuing this list. I'm pursuing this goal with my networking. And I'll tell you, this has led to more wins beyond my pipeline growth than anything, right? Because I have competitors. I know what people say about my competitors in the market. Okay, so this is a big ordeal. Yeah.
So looking at the 5 things you have on the screen, it seems like this is a long game. So whoever is going to do this for you must probably have had more than one touch point with you. That's what I seem to be hearing.
Yeah. I do think more than one touch point is important, right? Like again, you can't do all the things, right? Like all of the things. If I was spending my time doing all the things, I'm not doing my day-to-day job that needs to happen, right? But this is a part of my day-to-day job, but it can't be the highest percentage, right? So you can't do all the things, but I do pick the places. I am intentional about picking the places and the opportunities where I'm going to bump into the people on a consistent basis that leads to this long game and this nurturing and building relationships. Because to your point, you said it earlier, this stuff takes time. This stuff takes time. That's why we also struggle with it from a business leader's perspective. Because it's time, it's a trade-off cost. It's time that I'm not spending doing these other things that maybe I could more easily equate to dollars and cents, right? And so, yeah, it is. And so I'm always like, yeah, I know. And I always like, when I'm engaging with people, well, am I going to see you at the next one? This one's coming up. Like I always have a little bit of I know what the next event's coming up. So am I going to see you at the next one? Right? Like every single one of us can go to the chamber calendar, both here in Tri-Lakes, all these chambers, we can get all the events, we can put them on a calendar, we can register them, and then we got to go out and go, well, am I going to see you at the next one? Okay, great, right? And that's how you start to do that, right? Or wherever else, right? Like I'm very involved outside of the business world, in the local church community and other places, and I see these people. Now the trick is, like, am I the same person? And so, again, people are always asking you, like, do I trust this person, right? Because it is the long game. Yeah, it's a really great point. Yeah.
Me and a few of my, closer power partners have gone to chamber events and such. We take each other's cards, and then the goal is, you don't want to make it awkward, but the goal is to pass out their cards and not your cards. Hey, do you know Andrew?
Wow.
You got to meet Andrew. He's a great guy, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I actually love that idea.
That's next level.
Yeah, that is next level. That is next level. Yeah.
Because
You can
you
keep
kind of, how can I introduce this, and you don't want to make it too much of a contest. I always lose because, if you just say, hey, you guys going to pass out, other people are going, why are you passing out everybody's, you gotta, have a conversation about it.
Well, and I do think you got to find a way to make it fun. You got to find a way. You're gonna be there. You're gonna do it, right? So you might as well just find a way to make it fun. I think that's kind of fun, right? It's like the old, when you go to have you met my friend Luther, right? Like it's like how do we introduce each other in that way? These are just the last points that I would just kind of reiterate again. Relationships matter, right? When I lead with authenticity, with warmth and helpful follow up, I get what I need out of networking. Okay, I want to become someone people trust. I want to become someone people remember, and I want to become someone people talk about in the right ways. And then I also want to let networking be how I show up, not just at an event that I have to endure, right? Like networking absolutely can be fun. It can be something that is enjoyable. It can be something that you can start to look forward to. But it doesn't have to be this thing that you just have to endure. But that is absolutely wholly within your control. Absolutely wholly within your control. That's all I have in these last minutes. Any last questions or comments? Yeah.
Just what you said. And I'm an introvert. Been in sales, 30 years, but I'm an introvert. And technical definition is an introvert is someone that recharges when they're alone.
Yeah, sure.
And an extrovert is someone that feeds off of a frenzy around.
Yeah.
And networking, I get done with a networking event and I am exhausted.
Yep.
It wipes me out. So, yeah, that's a struggle.
Yeah.
And how would you overcome
Well, a couple things. First, just like from a frame of mind, what I love about that is I love your intentionality around like, yeah, but I have to do it, right? The argument around extroverts versus introverts is an interesting argument because it doesn't, sometimes we like to use that as like a, well, that I can't, right? No, because sometimes you're in contexts where you absolutely have to. And so the introversion versus extroversion is not like whether or not I can or I can't. It's about what fills you up versus what empties you. And I'm an extrovert, obviously. So, but I will tell you, like my wife knows, she cannot schedule things on Friday evening. Because there are weeks where I am crawling into the weekend and I need my jogger sweats, my t-shirt, and a glass of bourbon and nobody talking to me for like the next like 24 to 48 hours. So it zaps everyone, it just zaps everyone differently. And so my response to that would certainly be like, one, kudos to you for doing the things that are against your nature from a personality perspective, but you know you need to do it for the sake of the business. Great job on that. And then the follow-up to that is you have to know what is the best way for you to get recharged to go out and do the thing again. And you have to know what that is. And that's different for every single one of us. But you have to be very intentional about searching that out and figuring out what that is. Because if you don't, that's where the burnout stuff starts to happen, is when I'm not taking the time to also recharge, fill myself up, so I can go back out and do the thing. We all have hard. You just get to choose your hard. And so we chose to be in business, and we chose to lead business, and we chose to build business, and that means we've got to do A, B, and C. That also means then that I've got to be very intentional about what are the things that restore me and fill me up so I can go back out and do it again the next day. Yeah.
So we didn't talk a lot about one-on-one, but I didn't realize going into business about one-on-ones. And I'm just gonna, from what you've all said, from everyone's perspective of you never know who you're gonna talk to and how that connection will lead to something else.
Yes.
Or planting a seed, or a long friendship, lifetime of building. My husband works for Charles Schwab, a financial guy, right?
Yep.
My first one-on-one was with a financial planner. And I was like, I'm not gonna need his services.
Yeah.
But this guy connected me to someone else. And that has made a big difference, is what gonna happen in the future of my business.
Yeah.
So I have to say that networking, no matter who you're gonna talk to, one-on-ones might be, even though you might not need their services, that's how you build relationships as well.
That's such a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I do think as a part of like a follow-up, like thinking about who I would always recommend a one-on-one. Like I love a follow-up. I go to an event, I get a few business cards, and if I can get, like my goal is I want to meet 3 new people, get 3 new business cards, and if I can turn out one coffee or one like lunch or one just get together where I can get kneecap to kneecap with someone underneath at a table and just get to know them a little bit more. And a question that I always want to ask is, hey, who do you need to, or who do you like to connect with? Like whether it's an industry or whether it's a person, or like who are the people that you like to do business or need to be able to do business with, right? And if we can get in that type of conversation, and then I can make a connection, or someone can make a connection for me, right? Like if we can get to that level of conversation, though the deeper work actually happens more in that setting. And you have to be ready for that, and you have to be, again, it's just intentionality. Because the networking event is where they see me show up consistently on a regular basis. The one-on-ones is where it's proved out. Right? So I love that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I have 2 things. One, to kind of comment on what Bayo was saying. And this is something that I've worked on in my personal life. Everything in this life is so monetized. But as humans, the one thing that we have to give is kindness. And it goes a really long way in networking.
Yes.
And then second, to kind of harp on what you guys were talking about is, I think it's less about the industry the person works in, but assessing how that person is. Because if they're like, hey, my name's Mike, I'm a GC, and here's all the things that I do. yeah, he's a GC, but does he care about what you do at all?
Right.
I think whether you're dating, trying to get friends, networking, the best thing you can do is ask the question. Get to know that person more. Be less inclined to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
And if that person is, I hate to say a good person, but if they're considerate, if they care about other people, there's a lot of things that person could be. They're going to return those questions to you. They're going to be just as intrigued with you as you are with them.
Yeah.
And I think even if that person's a massage therapist, if they're intrigued in what you're doing, set up that one-to-one.
Yeah.
Because their husband might be the GC that you need.
Yeah. So that's such a good
When
one.
people do that, it's generally, they're treating it like a sales call.
100%.
Right, and they're just telling you all about themselves and what they can do for you, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do that. And then, in an hour you go, hey, well, it's great to see you, I gotta go.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that kind of like what she just said, and I appreciate that. What she just said, I learned a really, really long and difficult lesson, and that my wife has been telling me for years I should learn to play golf. And so I was, I'm that guy. I played football, track. I'm like, oh, golf is not a real thing. It's like whatever. So I finally got an opportunity to go golf lessons, and so that taught me is that I need to learn to have those candid conversations that's not directly about business to uncover the pain point somebody's having, to be available there as the resource.
That's right.
So it taught me hey, slow down and just hit the ball, dude. Just play golf. And then talk about what that thing Blake wasn't there when last time I hit it. How did it go over there?
Right.
All that stuff, and then you start talking about, hey, what you been up to, man? It just, you're completely catching, almost conversation about business that catches you off guard.
Right.
And so I what to go along with this is that I learned about a year ago, and I did business development for an engineering firm I was at, is to move away from what's called platitudes. And platitudes are actually the things we do, like he just said, of telling you all the cool stuff that I do. Hey man, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do that, we offer this. And it's telling all this stuff, and that just becomes like a commercial. And commercials in 30 seconds, most people were not even thinking about it anymore.
Right.
But to come off like a documentary where it hits somebody deeper and think hey, I remember this guy because this guy stimulated some intellectual thought, or he added value to what I'm doing because he was able to help me think about it more clearly.
Yeah.
I want to know more about that person. And so I found that has actually started getting me more traction in the relationship and marketing place than anything. It's awesome.
I have one more suggestion, can I, real quick?
We are coming to a close, but
Oh, Abigail,
this
come on.
room is open, so you guys can practice all your new skills. But I do want to take a moment. Because, like with networking, a lot of things don't go anywhere unless we pause afterwards and reflect and have some follow through, right? So I want you to take a minute and just think about one nugget that stood out to you, one action step, and write it down. And then I have something to say and we'll just move. But just pause for a minute because it won't go anywhere if we just move into the rest of our busy day. And that networking won't go anywhere if we just go from there into our car, back to our families, and we go into our next day and we have no follow through. So write down, what's your action step? Or think about anything else.
Or email yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what set a reminder.
The purpose of golf. It's a great reason to drink beer outside with your friends.
Awesome. Well, you guys, thank you for joining us. I think this is the therapy and pep talk we all need. I worked for 17 years for a nonprofit organization where I raised funds. And one of the best things is that I had a tag team partner. And we would pep talk each other. And we would text and go, I'm about to call these people, or I'm about to meet with this person. And we would encourage one another with their follow-up. And so you can find a team that helps you, encourages you to walk into these spaces to do whichever part, because whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, all of this has some hard for some of us. So, and AI cannot replace the relationships
That's right.
But it can help you follow up as you're driving home, maybe put some notes in and talk with ChatGPT about the people that you met, so that when you wake up the next morning and you can't remember, you have some key points to follow up with. So anyway, glad you came. There are some opportunities. The Chamber does a lot of networking events. Ribbon cuttings are a great one to show generosity and curiosity by showing up to people's business and learning about them. So we do a lot of those. Those are on here. We have business after hours on Tuesday night, and it's free. If you have never done anything with the Tri-Lakes Chamber, you can come for the first time for free, and we have around 120 people, and they can be really fun. Josh and John's Ice Cream, a pizza place that's going to be at Classic Homes Design Center. So picture the IKEA like living room of your dreams. You walk around, and which tile do I wish I had in my kitchen? But while you're networking. So that's Tuesday. So anyway, there's some fun events. Another option, like if you don't golf, but you like music and you like being outside, we have a really awesome beverage festival that's in September. And so you can buy a ticket for you and another person that you've been wanting to build your business relationship with, and go listen to music. You get a tasting glass, you get to try beverages from like 20-something different companies, and enjoy being outside on this September afternoon. So anyway, there's some fun things. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jeffrey, for sharing your advice and your experience. Thank you, SBDC, Lauren, for providing stuff. If you want to sit down for coaching or talk through it more, the SBDC is a great place. This room is open. Talk to each other if you're free, or head out, and we'll see you again sometime soon. Thank you, guys.